is up, you guys? Film Fan 0599 here again, and today we're going to review Venom! So Venom stars Tom Hardy, Riz Ahmed, and Michelle Williams, and what this film is basically about. It's about when, Eddie Brock, he's a news journalist, seems like his life is going well until something happens, and then it kind of just turns his life very much into a mess. But one day, he gets this symbiote, and what happens is he, starts developing Venom, basically. So, what did I think of Venom? Now, going into Venom, Okay, at first I had some high expectations for this, because I will admit, the stuff we have been hearing at first, like Tom Hardy being cast as Eddie Brock, it's gonna possibly be R-rated, and like some of the stuff we were hearing beforehand did show some promise. And then the first two trailers came out, and I thought they were really good. I really liked those first two trailers a lot. I thought it, showed some promise for the movie. Then the third trailer came out. Then Sony said that they were making it PG-13 when they said they were going to make it R-rated. Then Tom Hardy said his favorite 40 minutes of the film was cut out of the movie. And then all these other news stories came out about the film of how it's just been a disaster. Like Michelle Williams saying she just basically did it for the money. There was a lot of things, and it seemed like this movie could have been a total disaster. And I finally saw it not too long ago, and I'm here to tell you that it's just okay. It's fine. It really is. Like, it's not as bad as I thought it could have been, and it's definitely not as bad as some people have been putting it out to be. It's just so bland and boring, the movie. Like, to be honest, it's just so empty. Like, that is the best way to put this movie. It is an empty movie for the most part. It is so bland and so boring, to be honest. Like, for the most part during this, I was just sitting there with such a dull look on my face. Because I was just so bored. Like, it is such a bland movie, to be honest. And there are some really good things. There are actually some things I actually really liked about this film, but overall, honestly, the negatives outweigh the positives in this. But before we get to that, let's get to those positives. So let's first talk about what I liked about the movie with, of course, the positives. So let's get into those, shall we? Here we go. So here are my positives with the film. My positives are, first being Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy and a certain other element about this movie really save it from the disaster that I think it could have been, honestly, because they really do save this movie from being a disaster. So, Tom Hardy, I thought he was great. Tom Hardy is, really great in this role. I really enjoyed him a lot as Eddie Brock. He did bring a lot to his character, and I really enjoyed him in the movie. He was very funny, had a lot of, great stuff to do in this, and he was really, honestly, really great in the movie. I actually quite liked him a lot. Really made me buy into his character a lot, and, he was just fantastic. Like, I really enjoyed him a lot in this movie. He's definitely, without question, the best actor in this entire film, and, this and a certain other element are, like, the best things about the whole film. So, yeah, I really enjoyed him in the movie. There were a few action sequences here and there that I thought weren't too bad, to be honest. I thought were alright, that was pretty cool. Mainly a motorcycle chase that I thought was pretty cool, to be honest. So, there are some decent action sequences here and there. I did think the movie was sometimes funny. Not all the humor works in this movie, but mainly it's when it comes to Venom and Eddie Brock. That's mainly when I think the humor really works. And I actually thought they did a pretty good job with that, and that leads into my other positive, which is the other certain aspect I think is the best thing about this movie, and that is the interactions between Venom and Eddie Brock. I do think those are really fantastic, honestly. I actually really love that a lot about this movie, was the interactions between Eddie Brock and, Venom. I thought that was done extremely well, to be honest. And I thought they did a really great job with that. Like Hardy, playing off with Venom and stuff like that. That was great. Like, I really enjoyed that a lot. Like, that was awesome to watch and very funny at times to watch as well. So, yeah, I thought they did a great job with that, honestly. Like I said, that and, Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, I do really think are the best things about this movie and really save it from being the disaster that I think it could have been, to be honest. So, yeah, I thought that was great, honestly. I really loved a lot the interactions between Eddie Brock and Venom. I thought easily that was the best thing about this film. And lastly, for the most part, I do think the look of Venom is pretty cool. CGI-wise, it's definitely, I think, for the most part, the best thing CGI-wise, to be honest. I do think it looks very good. For the most part, honestly, I do like it a lot. And, like I said, definitely the best thing CGI-wise about the entire film, honestly. So, yeah, for the most part, I do think the look of Venom is really nice. So, yeah. Now the negatives. I do have quite some negatives with this film. I'm going to get into them. First being the rest of the acting. The rest of the acting is very wooden and very bland, to be honest. Everyone just felt like they were, except for Hardy, I felt like everyone else was just there for the paycheck, to be honest. I really did think, honestly, like, everyone else just felt like they were just there for a quick payday. Riz Ahmed, who I really like as an actor, from the stuff that I've seen him in, he's a really good actor, but I don't know what he was doing here. He really felt out of place, to be honest. He just didn't convince me at all as like a villain at all, to be honest. Like, he just didn't do a good job, honestly. Like, I thought he was just very bland and very wooden, to be honest. Like, he just wasn't good in this movie, and I thought he could have done a lot better, to be honest. So, yeah, he really wasn't that good. Michelle Williams, who is a great actress, who I quite like a lot, once again, I don't know what she was doing, to be honest. Like, it seemed like she was just a plot device in this movie. That's all she really felt like to me. Like, she really felt like just a plot device in this movie, to be honest. Like, I really do think so. She really feels like a giant plot device in this entire movie, honestly. And Michelle Williams, she really did seem like I mentioned before, there was an article where she said she was just doing it just to work with Tom Hardy and for the money, and it definitely shows in this movie that she was just doing it for the money, because she could give less of a crap that she's in this movie, to be honest. Like, she really is not that good in this movie, and I really didn't enjoy her that much, and felt pretty useless in the film to me, honestly. So, yeah, I really did enjoy her. The rest of the acting isn't really that good either, to be honest. The acting is very wooden, very bland, like I said. The other action sequences are bland as well, to be honest. Like, they're so boring to watch. Like, they're pretty basic, to be honest. And I really didn't enjoy watching them for the most part. Like I said, there's some cool ones here and there, but for the most part, I really do think the action sequences are kind of boring, kind of weak, to be honest. And that could be said for the story, to be honest, because the story is the same way. The story is very basic by the numbers, and it feels very predictable, and you see where things are going, to be honest. And it really is, honestly. Like, it's just a very boring and very bland story, to be honest. And like I said, very basic. Like, you know what's going to happen at most points during this film. So, yeah, I really didn't enjoy the story all that much. The rest of the humor is really not that good. Like, I was just like, okay, like, that's most of the jokes in this movie, I was just like, yeah, no, just no. But yeah, the rest of the humor really isn't that great. The inconsistencies show really badly. Like, you could tell this movie was rushed into production and rushed to get out there. Like, you can really tell in this movie. Like, they rushed through, like, Eddie Brock's kind of normal life at first pretty quickly, honestly. Like, they don't spend, I don't think, enough time on that. Like, I'm not saying, like, spend, like, a whole hour on it, but, like, like, before, his life turns into a mess, it like, kind of just flies by. Like, they do a quick 6-month jump in the film. I'm like, what? Like, it feels so inconsistent, honestly, this movie at times. It really does. It shows pretty badly, honestly. Like, it really shows. Like, it shows that there were some things cut out from this movie. Like, there were some things that really did need to belong in this movie. And, like, really showed there were some, really seemed like it was being rushed into, like, being released and stuff like that. It really does show in this movie, to be honest, and shows pretty badly. The villain. Riot has got to be one of the worst. The worst thing about this movie is definitely the villain. If there was two things that I really hated about this movie, like, it's definitely the villain and a certain other thing I'll get into. But the villain, what was Riot, like, what was Riot, to be honest? Like, seriously, like, I never felt his, like, motivation. Like, I never felt anything for this character. Like, I never really felt like he was a menacing villain. I just felt like he was just kind of thrown in there for a plot device, for a reasoning, for just Venom to have a big CGI cluster of a finale towards the end of the film. Like, that's all I really saw Riot as. I never really saw Riot as this intimidating villain, as this, person that's supposed to be such a match against Venom. No, I just saw him as like a plot device, so just Venom can have a cool finale sequence that really wasn't that cool. The finale to this movie is pretty rushed, and it's pretty just a mess, honestly. So, yeah, Riot, definitely not a good villain. Probably maybe top tier near the list of, like, worst villains of the year, to be honest. So, yeah, Riot really wasn't all that great of a villain. Most of the writing isn't that good with this movie. It really isn't. The only time I really think the writing is good, it's when it comes to Tom Hardy and, like I said, the interactions with Venom. That's really, I think, where the writing shines the most. But in other places, it's just not that great. To be honest, it really isn't. Like, the writing for this movie isn't really the best for the most part. The directing, it's so bland to look at, and it's just so boring, honestly. Like, really, the directing with this movie is not that great. It's kind of poorly shot. The editing really isn't that good, and the cinematography isn't even all that great, to be honest. Like, seriously, the directing really isn't that good with this movie, to be honest. And lastly, the pacing. This movie moves at a snail's pace, to be honest. This movie is an hour and 52 minutes, yet it felt 2.5 hours at times, to be honest. And also, it's rushed. Like, it's weird. This movie moves at a slow pace, and it's also rushed at the same time. Mostly in the beginning, to be honest, it's rushed. Like, seriously, like, it's both boring and rushed at the same time. It's weird. Like, it honestly is. Like, there are times where it just kind of just drags on with things, and then it just rushes towards things. What drags on with things is kind of the normal stuff that's going on, and the stuff that they rush is all the Venom stuff. That's the best way I could put it. They drag out a lot of the, like, kind of normal stuff that's happening in the movie, but whenever it comes to Venom, it just rushes. Like, it just rushes badly, honestly. And, yeah, the pacing feels very all over the place in this movie, and, like, it's really not that good. And, lastly, the other thing I really did hate the most about this movie is the CGI. The other, like I said before, Venom at times looks really good. Like, I will say, Venom does look pretty solid. But then there are other times where he kind of looks like something out of a PlayStation 2 video game at times. Like, especially during this one sequence where they're, like, finding, like, I guess all these, like, SWAT members or something like that. And when, like, Eddie turns into Venom, wow, that looked bad. And Riot looks absolutely atrocious. Like, seriously, like, the CGI felt like something out of, like, an early 2000s superhero movie. You know, like, with the rubber people and stuff like that. Like, that's what it felt like, honestly. Well, with the CGI with this movie, to be honest. Like, it really painfully felt like that. Like, it felt like an early 2000s superhero movie with the CGI in this film, to be honest. And yeah, it really isn't all that great, to be honest. The CGI is pretty bad, honestly, and it's really, really bad to look at, honestly, during the film, when the film uses a good chunk of it, because, you know, with the certain characters that are in the film, it just really isn't all that great, and it's definitely one of the two elements that I really did hate about this movie. The villain and the CGI are really the only things I can say I really hated about this movie, to be honest. So, yeah, oof. Big oof. So overall, Venom, I wouldn't say necessarily this is a horrible film. But at the same time, I can't really say it's good either. It's just very mediocre and very forgettable, to be honest. Like, I've already forgotten about this movie, to be honest. Like, just over the couple days after I've seen it, to be honest. It just really is a boring, bland, and forgettable movie, to be honest. There's some good potential with this movie, because there are some really good things about it. Like I said, Tom Hardy's great in the movie. His interactions with Venom are like the best thing about this whole entire film. Like, there are some really good elements to this movie, but they're watered down by all these other bad elements that are happening in this film. And it just sucks, because like I said before, this movie had a lot of potential. But once again, Sony's got to stick their big fat nose into the editing room and just got to rush everything out, because all they care about is that big old moolah. That's all they care about. So yeah, overall, Venom, very forgettable. So it's time for my official grade on Venom, and my official grade on Venom is a C. It's fine. It's just a boring and bland and forgettable film, to be honest. It's the best way I could put it. It's nowhere near one of the worst comic book movies of all time, in my opinion. I think there's far worse out there, to be honest. But overall, for me, I just really didn't care for it. It's just a really forgettable movie. That's the best way. It's too bland to hate, basically. That's the best way I could put it. So, yeah, Venom overall, just a movie that had a ton of potential, but falls flat on its face. That's the absolute best way I could put it. So yeah, Venom, not that great. Definitely gets a C. So, what did you guys think of Venom? Please let me know in the comment section below. And I'm FilmFan0599, and we will see you all later. Peace.